From the shores of Monster Island to the depths of the Hollow Earth. Not another Kaiju podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to Not Another Kaiju podcast. I'm David, I guess. I'm the one doing the intro this time. I've taken over everything.
Yes, it's now Not Another David Scrivani podcast.
Too many of those going around, really.
Talking Toku 2.
As the acronym will be pronounced.
Oh, boy. All right, so what's up, everybody? We're going to talk about Reptilicus today. Rather infamous kaiju film from the wonderful Danish people. I'm gonna re-say that because that sounds terrible.
No, keep it in.
Editors, no, get Jacob canceled as quickly as possible.
I forgot what country Danish people
Denmark.
Oh, thank you.
If it makes it feel any better, when I was doing research, I was internally referring to the Danish as the Dutch like 10 times before I caught myself.
Oh, I just forgot again. Someone's going to have to pick... All right, we're going to do this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Not Another Kaiju podcast. Today we are talking about Reptilicus, Denmark's only giant monster movie. And, okay.
Wow, we're off to a great start here today, guys.
The only kaiju film that Denmark needs.
The only kaiju movie that we all need, if we're being quite honest.
Yeah. Get rid of Godzilla, Gamera, Kong. We don't need any of them.
Ultra who? What? Huh?
We just need Reptilicus. That's all we need.
Oh boy! All right, where do we start? This movie is like so much.
We start?
Such a legacy. Honestly, let's obviously get it out of the way first. I feel like this is a movie that's on par with 90% of the Korean kaiju movies we talked about, perhaps even lower. As in, like this, it's so bad. It's so bad.
It's certainly not a good film. I'll say that much.
But just like those Korean kaiju movies, the tales of the production they're what make it interesting.
I agree. Especially this one, because, going into this podcast, I had watched Reptilicus before, because, let's address the elephant in the room real quick. James from Cinemassacre put it on his his top 10 giant monster movies or something like that video from like 2007. And
that was the video that got me introduced to Cinemassacre, and every now and then I just rewatch it just to feel something.
Hold on, just to confirm, he put this in his top 10 giant monster movies?
I think top 10 giant movie monsters. So flip the way.
Okay. I don't know if that's much better, but go on.
But you got to remember, number one was the giant claw. And I think this movie is on par with the giant claw.
Okay. I rescind my comment.
If that tells you anything, I think he was just sort of having a laugh with that whole video, because either he doesn't know about any other giant monsters that exist, or he was just like...
But anyways, I quote that movie all the time as an adult now. Like, when we brought up doing Reptilicus as an episode, the first thing I thought of was him going, just say the name, Reptilicus. Reptilicus. And then, of course, oh no, here comes the green shit. I have a very fond nostalgic attachment to Reptilicus because of James's commentary. I don't know, it's kind of a strange relationship. But going into this, I didn't know that there were two separate movies, like the Spanish version of Dracula, and that really changed the game for me.
I didn't know that either. I was just under the impression that there was a Danish audio track and there was an American audio track that had a couple things cut out similar to, most of the dubs for Godzilla films and other kaiju films. But the revelation that it was sort of the same film but reshot was an interesting one.
And there's a lot of noticeable differences too. Like, I'm sure everyone that's listening is okay with us spoiling Reptilicus, but I mean, if you're not, I'm sorry.
You've had 60 years to watch Reptilicus. Come on now. That's on you.
But like,
I don't know.
but like
That Danish cut only was just made available to the public pretty recently with that Vinegar Syndrome release. Maybe people haven't seen it.
Yeah, it wasn't on the Shout Scream Factory Blu-ray either.
How old is the Vinegar one?
I think this year.
Last year? Yeah, it's 2025 now, Jacob. Yeah, last year, Vinegar Syndrome put out Reptilicus with that Matt Frank artwork.
Well, like David said, the two versions are very similar. So I feel like, with the exception of a few changes, if you've seen the American one, you've pretty much seen the Danish one.
No, I don't agree, Nick, because in the Danish one, you see Reptilicus fly.
That was going to be my question sometime in the podcast. I'm glad we're getting to it now. Does the Danish version have that deleted scene?
Yes.
Yeah, Reptilicus flies.
It does. Also, there's more musical numbers in the Danish cut, so it's a
Please
very
explain.
different movie.
please, go on. Explain. Well, wait, hang on. Is this the first kaiju movie that is also a musical? Like, is this the first musical kaiju movie?
I think so.
Yeah, because this predates War of the Gargantuas, so I think so.
Wait, War of the Gargantuas had a musical number?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
What?
Get stuck in my throat or something like that.
Yeah, see, Jacob's got it under control. Yeah. So I guess this is 61. Gargantuas is 66. So I guess this is the first ever kaiju musical.
So what you're saying, David, before we really dig into this movie and stuff, is that someone needs to take Reptilicus like they did with Wizard of Oz and Wicked, and they need to just make a straight up Reptilicus Broadway musical with the greatest production value that we've ever seen.
Yes. Absolutely, yes. You know what? I'm putting my foot down on this. Kaiju United is going to fund this 100%.
Am I going to have to do all the frontline work because I'm so close to Broadway?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't sound so upset about it.
But I want a producer credit. I want producer credit.
We'll all get producer credit.
I want top producer credit.
Okay.
Executive producer. But yeah, those are the two big differences. And just the overall vibe is a little different, I would say, in some scenes, David. Like, especially the opening scene, like when they find the little tail and the guy's got like blood on his hands and stuff. In the American cut, it pans, or it doesn't pan, but it the words Reptilicus come on screen. They fly at you like a classic of the times 50s, 40s, 30s monster movie, which is just a staple trope. But they wait a little longer to show the title in the Danish version.
Also, in terms of cinematography, I forget where I saw this. I think it might have been Brett's interview with Ib. I'm still forgetting how to say his last name.
I think it's Ib Melchior.
Melchior, that's how it is. Yeah, in Brett's interview with Ib Melchior, it might have been in that one. There was mention of how the Danish version, you kind of like the camera just sort of like sits back and doesn't really get too up close. Whereas the American one, it shows like the tail, it shows them digging in to the tail and pulling out like the tissue and all that. And it's that way through like the entirety of the movie. Yeah,
because the writer and director had history in exploitation cinema before this, like just 50s exploitation films. As much exploitation as they could be, it wasn't crazy stuff like we got in the 70s, but Mr. Pink was a proprietor of 3D films too. He was one of the first guys out there doing 3D films. So maybe that's why the green shit spews on the screen. It was just supposed to be 3D. I imagine that's why.
And Ib Melchior hated it.
Yeah, yeah. There's some disagreements on this film.
Oh, a lot of disagreements.
Understatement of the episode.
I've got some quotes like in our show notes from Ib.
Yeah, go for it.
I like logic. I like things to be explained. And this is in reference to the infamous flying scene, and I want things to make sense. Now, Reptilicus is confined to Copenhagen. He can't go anywhere else than Copenhagen. If he's there, he has to do what he does in Copenhagen because he's really trapped there. But if he could fly anywhere he wanted. If they started shooting at him in Copenhagen, then he could fly down to Africa and wherever. So it didn't make sense for him to fly. These are the things that I very much object to, where people put things that do not make sense into my scripts. And it happens, unfortunately. You do not have the last say.
Yes. And it's kind of true, man. Like, things just happen. Like, with Goroth, they were ordered to put a monster in there, so they threw in Maguma. But that interview also comes from Vantage Point Interviews by Brett Homnick, and he does some really great stuff. So we recommend that you check out that full interview because it's really good, and he does some good stuff.
Did we want to talk about Dirch Passer, the guy who did the musical number?
Sure.
Dirch Passer is a comedian who played Peterson, and he was thrown in at the last minute. This was another thing that they changed in Ib's script. He was put in to draw crowds because he was so popular, and he was all over the advertising.
So it's like those two comedians in Wagmagwi.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Those two Korean comedians.
But when I say he was popular, he was so influential that at one point the filmmakers considered naming the movie Dirch and the Dragon.
That's a banger title.
It
That
is
is such a great title.
I don't. It's a little different vibe-wise from what I think they're going for.
To me, that just says they didn't have any faith in this movie from the start, because they're like, all right, guys, we know this movie sucks. Let's just get this really popular comedian to put butts in seats, and we'll make the movie about him.
Which is interesting because after like the halfway point of this movie, you don't really see him much, at least in the American cut. I mean, he's got the aforementioned musical number, but in the American cut, he kind of just disappears.
So AIP's like, who's this guy? He's not funny. Let's get him out of here.
You think that may have been because like they just Dutch comedy, there it is again, Danish comedy wouldn't translate well to an American audience?
It could be. Because, AIP handles a lot of these domestication releases, I'll call them. There's probably a better word for that, but AIP did a lot of their Godzilla dubs, and we know that they changed a little bit of the things and maybe cut here or there or retranslated, I would not be surprised.
I mean, I was watching a couple. Because I got curious. I watched a couple of his old performances, and he got a couple chuckles out of me. Granted, I couldn't understand a word he was saying, but through context, I could get a vague idea. And he's a good physical comedian too. He had a bunch of those jagged Abbott and Costello type movements, like whoa, facial expressions.
You definitely got that sense in the movie, I think. Like there's the bit, which is in both cuts, thankfully, because it's a funny bit where he's interacting with the electric eel, and he puts his hand in the electric eel and just gets zapped. I also really like the line when he first sees the electric eel. It's like, yeah, everything runs on electricity here.
That's funny. Come on, AIP. That's funny.
You don't know humor when you see it.
David, do you think the Danish cut's better than the American cut? Or do you think it's just a lost cause?
It might be a lost cause. I only watched, to prepare for this episode, I only watched the American cut because I had watched the Danish cut relatively recently, and I was also not expecting it to be like its own film from each other, but both are not very good. I don't know, because the more I think about it, I feel like I almost the more damn,
is it that bad? Good God,
it's pretty bad. So I almost feel like the American cut works a little more, just on the basis of it being, as you said, Jacob, as you implied with the title sequence, like it's kind of like, I don't know if love letter is the right phrase here, but like it's trying to be like a classic 50s monster movie. And it feels more like it succeeds in that. The Danish cut is just, I don't know. It's not as fresh in my mind as the American version, but I remember it being like the first act being kind of fascinatingly bad. Like they were trying to do something earnest and sincere and just failed miserably, while the American cut felt like, oh, this is a kind of a big goofy B movie. If that makes sense, if that long-winded explanation makes any sense to any of you.
Are you trying to say in America a movie like this was nothing new? Like, because you had seen so many, we talked about earlier, The Giant Claw. There are so many movies prior to this that were just, you know, cheesy monster movies, whereas in Denmark,
That's a good way of putting it.
I think so, but in a way that kind of hurts the movie because it doesn't stand out. I mean, I guess it does because it's spitting green shit, and you watch Danish Cut, the thing flies with bigger wings and a bigger head. Like the prop completely changes, but in a way, there's so many drive-in B-movie cult classics of that time, especially by exploitation directors and cult directors like your Roger Cormans, that Reptilicus almost gets lost in the shuffle, in my opinion, a little bit. I think, honestly, man, like, if James hadn't memed out Reptilicus, I think only the deep divers of the kaiju community would really go for it.
that's a fair assumption.
Because I mean, it came out in 1961, and we can talk about this later too. But 1961, you have Gorgo, Conga, Mothra, and Reptilicus.
Which one do you think flew under most people's radar?
I would say Conga or Reptilicus. And you know what? I think they were paired together in the Scream Factory Blu-ray, which is kind of funny.
Were they?
I'd have to look. I gotta look it up. Sorry, I'm wrong. It is Tentacles, which is another 1977 killer octopus movie that nobody talks about. But you get my point, right?
Yeah.
Until Vinegar Syndrome, it wasn't big enough to have its own release. It had to be double featured.
It was also a double feature with The Giant Claw, I believe.
I think so. But yeah, my point stands, right? You think of 1961, you think of... I mean, Gorgo's gotten more love over the years, thanks to Titanic Creations. But I would say Mothra is the top of the dog of 1961, you know?
Gorgo also has the benefit of being a good movie.
I don't agree with you, but that's okay. We'll save it for the Gorgo episode.
Whoa. Okay.
All right, we're switching gears. This is a Gorgo episode.
Yeah. Look, all I'll say is this. The scenes with all the people panicking in the streets, that was wonderfully executed. Like, they had so many extras. It was great.
Yeah, but did Gorgo vomit green shit?
You know what? You got me there.
Valid point.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool that Reptilicus fell into obscurity and now has a beautiful 4K from Vinegar Syndrome, but who the hell thought that was going to happen, right?
No one. I don't think this is a movie that anyone would have expected to get a nice, like...
gorgeous boutique label release.
Yeah, I hesitated to say boutique for a movie like Reptilicus, but that's really the only word that works here. But yeah, like a boutique 4K. It's not the movie you would have expected.
I mean, I feel like we're getting a lot of that recently. Like the movies that you wouldn't expect that the boutique releases.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other examples.
Arrow's really good at that. I mean,
yeah, that's their bread and butter.
Microwave Massacre is on Arrow Video.
Did Yongari? Well, no, I was about to say Yongari, but no, that just got a regular Blu-ray release. That's like the furthest it went.
Yeah, Yongari should get a 4K.
We need a 4K box set with both Yongari 67 and Reptilian.
Don't worry. At the Reptilian Oscar Advocacy Committee, we're working tirelessly to make sure that happens.
All right, good.
But I was listening to Record All Monsters, doing some homework on what other people think about this movie, and they kind of just brought up a really interesting point, like releasing a movie like Reptilicus in 1961 in America. I mean, they argued that the age of monsters was kind of ending in America. The way people watched movies was changing. We're heading towards a little more sci-fi and stuff.
Stuff like Star Trek was becoming popular. All the space. I mean, not to bring it back to Cinemassacre, but when he was talking about the '60s Godzilla movies, he mentioned that all the space sci-fi was all the rage. So Godzilla adopted that.
Yeah, but it was 61. We're starting to get there in America, at least. But a lot of people would argue that 61 to 65 is the golden age of Toho sci-fi and kaiju. Like, kaiju just started exploding that year in Japan. So why do you think there was such a golden age versus the twilight years for these cultures? So, like, a lot of people think Japan's golden age of kaiju was 61 to 65. Whereas Americans started fading away. Like, their monsters were the 50s atomic age movies, like The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Whereas in 61, they started going away a little bit.
I think it might just be simple as maybe just culture. People in America were getting kind of tired of giant monster movies, but people in Japan just loved them.
I think kind of going off of that, I feel like with Japan, with Japanese monsters, like they were able to kind of evolve over the films. Hey, Godzilla is not an allegory for the atomic bomb anymore. He's like a superhero for kids to enjoy. But America never really got out of that sort of atomic age stuff. So I think sort of not being able to evolve the monsters to represent anything other than that is kind of what killed it. I mean, obviously there were still some here and there, but not nearly as many as there were in the 50s.
Do you think like maybe Americans didn't think that monsters could be anything but what they were being portrayed as?
I think so.
They're like a bad example, but the Beast for 20,000 Fathoms can never be like the superhero.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're onto something. And that just overall taste, because like obviously this is a kaiju podcast, but I'll do a little bit of cinema history too, because like the 60s you did have the sci-fi, like I was saying, like halfway through the decade you have Star Trek, like you said, Planet of the Apes, 2001: A Space Odyssey. So we were looking to the stars, but we were looking to explore them. We were looking less at being invaded, like in War of the Worlds in the 50s. But we also, I think it's because the monster genre didn't really evolve that much. I was being kept alive by your Roger Cormans, Creature from the Haunted Sea and stuff like that. But we saw evolution in other genres, like the Western evolved. We got spaghetti Westerns. Sergio Leone hit the big time. And Americans loved Westerns back then.
Yeah. And also, I mean, that's just like, I feel like that's just American cinema in general. It just like goes from one thing to the other. I mean, look, it's happening right now with the MCU. People are just getting tired of superhero movies, and they're slowly dying.
Yeah, and there's been arguments for a decade that superheroes will go the way of the Western, and maybe they will, but
they 100%.
I don't know.
I would argue they already are.
Perhaps, but I'm here to talk about Reptilicus.
Yeah.
Who cares about
Reptilicus.
Captain America Brave New World when you can talk about Reptilicus?
Yeah.
Exactly.
When are they going to add Reptilicus to the MCU? That's what they need to save the MCU.
Well, they were going to remake Reptilicus. Maybe this could be a golden opportunity to bring that idea back to life.
Yeah, we're going to remake Reptilicus as a Broadway musical.
There is a remake of Reptilicus.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You mentioned this earlier. Please elaborate.
So, Charlton Comics put out comic books of a lot of these monster movies. I know they put out Gorgo comics for a while. I think they put out Conga comics. And for 2 issues, they had Reptilicus comics. But something happened with the legalities, and I don't know the specifics. I didn't do my homework. They had to change the name to Reptisaurus. Repti-saurus. Reptisaurus? I don't know. Say it again. Reptisaurus. So anyways, in the 90s, I think, no, 90s or 2000s, there's a Reptisaurus movie based on those Charlton comics. So indirectly, through legal loopholes, there is a Reptilicus remake.
Interesting.
Is it the one from 2008?
Yep, that's it. They also had to redesign Reptilicus, so it does look a little different. So the
It just looks
argument
like a
could be
common
made.
dragon.
Yeah, the argument could be made. No, Jacob, that's Reptisaurus. It's completely different. But I'd like to think that's their Charlton's way of continuing Reptilicus.
That's Millennium era Reptilicus.
So, yeah, there's a little TV, like, asylum level movie for Reptisaurus. And I think the Reptisaurus comics are public domain.
Really?
Yeah, because Charlton went out of business. DC bought Charlton's characters, like the Question and Captain Atom, I think his name is. You know, basically the guys that look like Watchmen characters.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're supposed to be. But they didn't buy Reptisaurus or Gorgo.
Damn. We could have had Batman fighting Reptilicus.
Yep.
Honestly, if I could see a world where James Gunn brought it to the big screen.
Oh, please. Please.
He was able to make Guardians of the Galaxy a household name. He saved the Suicide Squad. He's pretty much saving DC movies. I think he could do it. If anybody could do it, it's
we
him.
know you're listening. Please bring Reptisaurus/Reptilicus back. That's all I ask.
There's one more connective tissue thing I'd like to bring up, if that's okay, because I think we're snoozing on something major from that interview with Vantage Point Interviews. So, Mr. Melchior was involved with the Volcano Monsters. Do you guys know what the Volcano Monsters is?
Yes, I do.
The Volcano Monsters was the original Americanization of Godzilla Raids Again. Kind of. I'm going to get a little bit of info wrong because I'm going from memory. But basically, they were going to reshoot a Godzilla movie with another company, call it the Volcano Monsters, and they donated Godzilla 55 and Anguirus 55 for the movie, and they were going to film a whole different movie called the Volcano Monsters. So I guess it wasn't really an Americanization of Raids Again. It was like a whole different movie.
So just like the American and Danish cut of Reptilicus.
Kinda. But basically they acquired Godzilla Raids Again, and one of the producers retitled it to Godzilla the Fire Monster. They didn't like the story of Raids Again, so they wanted to make just a whole new movie. They asked Melchior to write a new script, use all the special effects, but rework the story, replace everyone with American actors, and he tried to do it. Oh, okay. So the distribution company, ABPT, closed down in July 1957. He says, quote, "Now, for whatever reasons that I have no idea why, they did not replace the production/distribution company, and the Volcano Monsters bit the dust. I don't know if a copy of the script still exists somewhere. It's possible that I have it somewhere, but I have no idea where. So it's 50 years after the fact. I don't know if I have anything. That's what I have dredged up from my records. I hope it is of help to you." That's pretty fucking crazy. Sorry, I said the F word, but yeah, so he was involved with the original way that Godzilla 55 was coming to the United States. And then he went on to make Reptilicus.
Hell
make
yeah,
Reptilicus.
from humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. So I think that's a nugget from that interview that everyone's kind of sleeping on. I think that's
the
absolutely
first
crazy.
I've heard of that. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, Brett's interviews are amazing. I love them. Those are really the big connective tissues I had. That it was a class of 1961, and the volcano monsters. So there's a lot of like connective history tissue with kaiju films, to the point where Reptilicus is kind of historical in a strange, fascinating way. It's got connections to Charlton Comics, which is one of the all-time classic defunct comic publishers. It's just weird. This stupid little movie connects to so many different things. It's like a web.
Whoa, hey, come on, stupid is a bit harsh.
Oh, okay. This absolute masterpiece of Danish cinema, because I don't know any other Danish movies.
Neither do I.
There's A Royal Affair, A Beautiful Life After the Wedding, Ordet, In a Better World, Festin, The Hunt, Loving Adults.
I've heard of A Royal Affair. Dude, that's the dichotomy of man. There's two different answers right there.
Well, if you want to do a little bit of deep dive, the third result is on Our True Film. What are your favorite Danish films?
Has anyone said anything about Reptilicus?
Let me Command F this. Nope.
Damn, they're sleeping on it.
One more thing that we can splice into the Charlton Comics rant. Reptisaurus, after it was renamed, made a cameo in the Gorgo comics. So we've had Gorgo versus Reptilicus.
Whoa, let's go.
Now, I got another interesting fact. Someone beat us to the punch.
Oh, what? Who?
So, and I'm just kind of skimming, a little bit, but in 2010, there was a experimental stage play in Copenhagen titled Reptilicus Live.
I did not know where you were going with someone beating us to the punch, but it was not this.
So it's an experimental stage play adaptation called Reptilicus Live. There was an uncredited puppeteer portraying the monster by moving a shadow puppet.
A shadow puppet. Okay. Wow. I assume there's no video footage of this scene in existence.
Well, funny you mentioned that.
Uh-oh.
It may not be the right one. Oh, wait, no, this is not the right one. This is just what appears to be a DJ named Reptilicus.
There's a DJ named Reptilicus?
I looked up Reptilicus Live, and this was the first thing to come up, and it's a video has 821 views. The video is just titled Reptilicus, uploaded by, oh my god, I'm going to butcher this, Gunhildur Haksdottir. Says Reptilicus in Kunzekern, Krems, Austria, May 2010. It's just a guy doing a DJ set. Unfortunately, there is no Reptilicus Live footage. There technically is, but not the one we're looking for.
I'm putting a call out there for every listener, every follower, every reader of Kaiju United. I need footage from this play.
This is going to be Jacob's Great White Whale of lost media.
Dude, there's an Icelandic metal band called Reptilicus.
What?
Yo, all right, now I'm back on. I'm back on. I'm awake.
God damn, he's right.
Where are all these Reptilicus fans coming from?
There's dozens of us.
Wait a minute, this might actually be the video I just watched, because I just typed in Reptilicus band and the genre is dance /
hold on,
electronic.
Jacob, you said they're Danish or Icelandic?
Icelandic.
Because there's another band called Reptilicus that's spelled with a K, and they're from here in the States. they're from Portland, Oregon.
We always have our rabbit hole every episode. I think this is it.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna listen to these guys. 1 second. Wow, that's some album artwork, all right. These guys last put something out in 2021. So they're still relatively active.
Are we looking at the same ones? 22 monthly listeners. Their top song is No Cure for Death.
That's the one. Yeah, 22 monthly listeners. Well, it's about to be 24.
Hell yeah, let's go.
You and me. Well, it's not the worst thrash I've ever heard.
Oh man! And if you want to go small world, on the official Reptilicus Vinegar Syndrome release, my friend, producer Robert Parigi, produced 50 million years at a time, revisiting Reptilicus for the
Oh,
bonus
okay.
features. So we all love Reptilicus down on the inside.
Damn. I was gonna ask you guys at some point, like, do we think we'll ever see a resurgence in popularity of Reptilicus? But it seems like there are.
In a way, there already is.
Honestly, with how much Gorgo has resurged for being a boring as shit movie, Reptilicus can do it.
Wait, Gorgo had a reputation of being like a boring movie?
No, Jacob thinks it's boring.
I think it's a boring as shit movie. cricket.
You left Nick speechless.
Jacob, I love you, man, but come on. I thought you knew Kino when you saw it.
I do. It's Reptilicus.
I walked right into that one.
There.
I walked right into that one.
I almost had. You know what? Maybe I'll make the Kaiju fans angry this episode. I had more fun watching the Danish cut of Reptilicus than I did with Gorgo.
What's so bad about Gorgo? You got me a little riled up.
It's boring.
No, it's not.
I mean, I'll admit, we're gonna go on a tangent about Gorgo. I'll admit it's pretty by the numbers when it comes to like story, but I think it like execution is pretty good.
Yeah, especially the rampaging scenes. You're telling me that
it's basically Kong 76.
Exactly. Yeah, you're trying to tell me that the fucking sock puppet that they filled with rocks and just dropped on top of miniature buildings was better Tokyo destruction than the man in the rubber suit actually knocking down buildings, explosions happening around him. This is who we have running Kaiju United, folks. Remember that.
Did Gorgo fly?
His popularity is currently flying, so
yeah. There you go.
I'll echo what Jacob said earlier, Nick. Does Gorgo spit green shit?
Gorgo does not need your approval.
Well, Gorgo, hey, to be fair, Gorgo is the stupid baby. Agra is the adult that does the cool rampaging. So Gorgo sucks.
Gorgo does kind of suck.
Agra's cool.
I don't have a way to retort for that. That's just a solid point.
Jacob's starting to convince me on Gorgo.
By the way, I'm playing it up. I think Gorgo's fine.
I know.
It ain't my favorite, but I'm just playing it up.
This is when the podcast just starts to crumble from the inside because we can't agree on Gorgo. This is our last episode.
Gorgo, oh my god!
This is what breaks up the band right here.
Yeah.
But our love for Reptilicus
keeps us together.
It's no reptilian, but
oh god, nothing could ever reach that height.
Okay, so how about merchandise, guys? Because strangely enough, Reptilicus is a popular figure with M1. M1 will put out a really nice Reptilicus Sofubi figure and charge $150 to $200 for it. People will buy it.
I've seen those, yeah.
This thing is worth $100?
Yeah. You're gonna make the toy people. Nick, you're gonna make the toy people really mad.
It's a nice figure. It is. Figure.
It is, but I wouldn't pay $100 for it. This is like just as I wouldn't pay $150 for the Godzilla Evolved SH Monster Arts.
I wouldn't pay $1,500 for a camera lens.
Ooh.
Now you're digging into my profession. All right.
Just fighting words.
At least something like that is practical.
Are you saying a Reptilicus figure isn't?
That's how I get dates, Nick. I just show my Reptilicus figure.
Is your Tinder profile nothing but pictures of the Reptilicus Sofubi figure?
Pictures of Reptilicus.
Okay. Yeah, I'll update my Tinder bio right now, and I'll put, does anyone want to watch Reptilicus?
I feel like we've gone off the rails more than we ever have on this show before.
I think that's what makes it more fun.
I mean, it is. It absolutely is.
I'm just going to start spitfiring some fun facts about the two versions of the film. Shot simultaneously, directors Paul Bang and Sidney Pink took turns on shoot days shooting their respective versions. The cast performed in both languages.
You're just trying to keep it together in the
AIP
background.
hated the actor's performance in English so much that they had them go back and redub them. And some of the dubs were performed by Mulcair himself, the writer.
That's really interesting.
What's Look, man, I may be doing the podcast equivalent of shoveling water out of a sinking ship using a bucket here, but I'm trying.
No, it's because Jacob actually did update his Tinder profile. Looking messenger.
Jesus Christ.
Jacob, let me know how many people bite.
0. All right. Okay, let's get our bearings back.
Okay.
So I don't know how true this is, but there was reportedly, oh God, this is a family podcast. I don't know if I can read that.
Uh-oh.
So a paperback tie-in novelization of the film written by Dean Owen was published at the time of its release. Is notable for its inclusion of gratuitous sexual scenarios that were entirely unrelated to the film. Okay.
Wait, this was a book?
Yeah. So there's supposedly a novelization out there somewhere. So I'm going to find out if that's real.
So a lot of firsts for Reptilicus. The first Danish monster movie, the first monster movie to be a musical, and the first one to have an erotica adaptation.
Damn. Really breaking new ground.
I found it on Goodreads. It's real.
Oh my God. We need to find this somewhere.
There's an eBay listing. I'm going to buy it.
How much?
Oh, it's sold out. It's sold on Sunday.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, we just missed it.
Yeah, it sold yesterday.
Holy shit.
For $52. Okay.
God, if we only recorded a couple days ago. Ugh, that's so upsetting.
Yeah, there's a novelization by Dean Owen. So Mr. Pink, the producer and U.S. director, was so reportedly enraged by this that he sued the company that published the novelization.
Oh.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Oh, I was going to bring up the legal dispute with AIP.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. It says here on the... I'm just looking at the Wikipedia. I just needed like a quick reference. He says he was angry with the changes that AIP made, so he sued them.
Did anything come from that?
The lawsuit was dropped.
Cool, so no.
But no, I just find it funny. So he sued AIP and he sued the company that wrote this book. This dude's throwing lawsuits left and right.
That's crazy. Why would they write that in the novelization?
It's the Danish, man. They're a little freaky.
He just thought it was Reptilicus was missing something.
Now here's something interesting. I was saying earlier that Mr. Pink dabbled in exploitation film. He did direct a movie called Journey to the Seventh Planet, which does include a giant monster in it. It was filmed back to back with Reptilicus. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up, right? I think Reptilicus gets the title because the year of release for Seventh Planet is 62, kind of like a Wangmagwi and, Bogasari situation. But it's not the only giant monster film from Denmark. There's a bunch of shorts, too, that we'll have to track down. King Kong 86, The Great Pink, 14 and 0, I think that is. And I can't pronounce that name. It's just in Danish. Those are Danish kaiju short films. A lot of people think Reptilicus is the only Danish kaiju film, and it's not.
So you're telling me you could have corrected me all the times I've already said that it was the only Danish kaiju film.
I didn't know. I didn't do my homework. They're just like short films by Peter Nielsen. I don't even think they're available. But it was the first. But his other movie also came out around the same time. What is this? Is this just like a stock photo of a guy in Reptilicus, David?
It is. it's a just a print, like a you can sometimes like get just prints of particular shots from movies. I guess someone did this one.
It's a still from Peterson's musical number.
Yeah, $20
Used.
with its description from the seller. With its antique charm and stunning production technique, this photograph is a true gem for any collection.
Wow.
Got that right. Look at that facial expression.
Holy cow.
Oh, there's another one of Carl Otenson when they're planning the attack on Reptilicus.
There's a couple I saw, yeah.
Also, there's one thing I can give Reptilicus credit for. It's being one of the lucky kaiju films that's been on every format almost. There's a VHS by Orion. There's a DVD mostly by MGM, Midnight Movies. Like there's another label.
Cheesy movies.
Yeah.
That's the one I own.
I went to Blu-ray for Scream Factory and I went to 4K. We have Reptilicus on 4K, but we don't have Godzilla films on 4K in the United States.
That is insane.
Well, there was what about those 4Ks? I saw some of them. Someone at G-Fest in the autograph room was selling Godzilla 4Ks. I don't know if those are official or not. It was of the original. I think he had Godzilla versus King Kong.
Those are probably the Toho 4Ks.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not.
But they're not United States 4Ks, is what I'm saying. The first, the MonsterVerse films in 98 have had 4Ks, but the first true 4K Godzilla film is Biollante from the Criterion Collection in the United States.
What is it? Didn't we get the 54 4K from them as well?
That's true, yes. I forgot. Okay, so we have 54 and we have Biollante. And Reptilicus came first.
That's insane to think about.
Isn't that weird? Let's try and answer that not as a meme, right? What is so endearing about Reptilicus that it has to be on every physical media format imaginable? I don't know if it's on 8-track or Laserdisc, but you get the point.
The big ones, the mainstream ones.
Yeah. And it gets a 4K and a beautiful release and a new commentary and a new documentary. Like, there's something endearing about how bizarre Reptilicus is that I don't understand.
I think it's we love cult movies. We wouldn't have companies that exist solely to put out cult movies and stupid stuff like this if there wasn't an audience for them. And I don't know if it's something like Vinegar Syndrome saw, oh, hey, no one's really done anything with Reptilicus in 10 years. Why don't we do that? I don't know if that's what happened there, but I again, there's an audience for it. So I think that's really all it comes down to, is that they know people will buy it. If what's the actual quote? Like, if you
build it, they will come.
If you build it, they will come. Thank you. That's the word. I know it was something with a B, but I wasn't sure what.
I guess you're right, David, because if your boy will buy Fuck the Devil and Fuck the Devil 2 Return of the Fucker on boutique Blu-ray.
I still remember you were so excited to show me those at G-Fest. You're like, dude, check this out.
I was so happy. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If someone can buy those, why not Reptilicus?
Exactly.
I was basically gonna say what David said. The audience for cult films have always existed, so something like this would have been inevitable.
Do you think we're gonna take it a step further and Titanic Creations is gonna get Reptilicus or something?
At this rate, I wouldn't be surprised, because we've done Gorgo, they've done Yongari, Pulgasari. What else is there at this point for like kind of D tier, C tier monsters?
I give it maybe like a year, 2 years.
Maybe his day is coming, because like if M1 can make a Sofubi of Reptilicus of all things, who's to stop Titanic Creations or even the 3D printed people like man, he just made that Clover figure.
Oh,
McCann's Custom
God.
Toys or something like that.
I can't remember his name. I'll
Yeah, if guys like him can make a Clover figure, someone's got to make a Reptilicus one day, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Please?
there's also there's a whole portion of the community that makes custom figures. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody. Bro, we know somebody. Why don't you just commission Rachel to 3D print you a Reptilicus figure?
Gargantuan design. Please license Reptilicus.
Jacob, say the word. I can put it in the Discord server right now.
I'm putting it in the Discord server.
Which I don't know which channel this should be in.
Just chatting.
General, probably. Kaiju Junkie is typing.
Oh God, we're awful.
Do it,
We're
you
so
coward. Rachel's online. She probably just saw that.
awful. Yep.
Hold on. Rachel is typing.
I feel like if all three of us type, then it'll give it away.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Ramon's typing. Holy shit!
That.
Oh no, she already knows. She knows.
I see we got the KU game coming up in here to tell me to make a Reptilicus figure.
All right, we gotta wrap this shit up, man.
Let's wrap this shit up. I gotta edit a piece and edit an interview.
That will do it for this episode of Not Another Kaiju Podcast. If you are watching us on YouTube, be sure to check us out on audio platforms. If you're listening to us on audio platforms, be sure to check us out on YouTube. But wherever you are listening, be sure to rate us 5 stars, drop a like, comment, subscribe, all that jibber jabber. And until next time, guys, my name is Nick, joined by Jacob and David. This has been Not Another Kaiju Podcast.
See ya!
So long.